Awesome.
Good. Good.
Hi, everyone. Great to see everybody.
How are you, Max? It's quite echoey where you are. You're either hiding in a corridor somewhere, or maybe you've maybe you need a rest break.
I will probably change the location. I'm sitting in my. It's actually my working room. That's where my desktop is and everything. But sometimes it's just, yeah. So let me get outside.
I'm only joking anyway, Max. I'm all. We've been doing so many AMAs over the last week. I'm in quite a playful mood because I've answered the same questions over and over again. So yeah, I'm just in a mood for spicing things up a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Is it better? Is it better now?
It is better. Yeah. Actually,
cool.
When I'm doing AMAs with Max, I always hear this echo because he's sitting in his office, and his office in a kind of a small room with kind of it's where the sound bounces from the walls. But yeah, sometimes it's the case. But now, Max, it's way better. Thank you.
I used to have an office at home that was similar, Max, and just little things like putting a picture on the wall made a massive difference. Just heads up.
Yeah. Makes sense.
There's an AMA channel. How do we write there? Because I don't seem to have any permission to write there.
Well, that's probably entry on purpose because you always write stuff, you know. That
yeah, that's probably on purpose. Yeah, because
your reputation precedes you. So we've got. So I should actually apologise first. The last couple of AMAs we did. Wow. Yeah, wow. We did the one with Sphere. Obviously, the Sphere community is quite playful anyway, so it got completely out of hand in the AMA questions channel. But then we did an AMA in Grey Market. I don't know if you guys know Grey Market. Very professional outfit. They run a VC. Their average investor size is $260,000. That's their average. So a professional bunch of chaps who are mature, and it was, I had to kind of send them an apology afterwards because this pack of degenerates just completely let loose on their AMA questions.
You are complimenting your community, I think, but we are fine. You can open up the channel to us. We can take it.
Trying to work it out. Actually,
by the way,
I can see Mina here, and she's got quick fingers, and she'll work it out before I do. Maybe she can help us. Yeah, we've got AMA questions channel right there. I'm not sure why you wouldn't be able to speak in it. Let me tag you in it. 1 second.
Doesn't seem that anyone can speak there because Mina is the last one and nobody can write anything there. Oh yeah, you can. Clearly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can.
Yep. Yeah, you can.
Cool. So you can see it now, yeah? Brilliant. Fantastic. Yeah, and you know what? I can see the room's kind of filling up. So we'll get started in a minute. I don't know if it's the same in your server. In ours, typically it's about between 8 and 10 minutes is when everybody turns up for some reason. So like everybody's here. You can see Austin and all sorts. One thing I would say, I'll be brutally honest, right? I think, having stable assets that grow are obviously a hot topic because of the way the market's been for a few months, but it's not the sexiest, right? I kind of feel like bringing two stable backed assets together is like watching two accountants go out for something to eat, right? It's very safe. People are going wild for it. They're absolutely. It's almost they want to see the spreadsheet jokes, and I'm really surprised. There's a lot of energy for this partnership, which is great, by the way. But when you bring two stable assets together, you're probably thinking, okay, well, it's
but you realize it has never been done. It has never been done properly.
Really?
It's funny because I think we are on the cutting edge of innovation here. The way I learned about MDB is that when we launched on Polygon, like there were 10 or 15 people who came over and said, guys, you need to go to BC, you need to do MDB plus, USD plus. And like, why? Because two assets would be kind of generating yield, like generating return on each side of the pool. So it would not be like two stable assets. It would be two yield generating assets. And this is what people get so excited about. And there was similar requests. So they came and said, you should do, like, there's this liquid staking, which is very popular in Ethereum. Lido is doing staked ETH, and they're also doing staked Vmatic. And so people came and said, you got to do, staked Matic USD Plus pool. And said, why? You don't understand. It would be so sexy to have two yield generating assets in the pool. It's like everything is yield generating. This is just so sexy. So I don't think it's just two stable assets. It's like two yield generating assets. So it's like, accountants on steroids or something, like cool accountants going out,
Yeah, absolutely. Accountants after they've just got their bonus in.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, it's fantastic to have you.
Yeah.
It's fantastic to have you guys. I think I can see plenty of faces actually that are relatively new. So maybe if we kick off with an introduction before we go down into the detail of our projects and what they do and how the stable assets work, and then I think the format is probably best if we start off with maybe an introduction to you guys, organization background, and then we'll do similar, and then maybe talk a little bit about the product and the asset, and then I'll do the same, and then what we'll do is I tell you what, each of those three phases. So first we'll go team and background, then we'll go our own respective assets and an introduction to them, and then we'll talk about the partnership. And after each one of those three phases, we will stop and open for questions. So if you ask us something that's got nothing to do with what we just spoke about, it probably won't get asked, right? Just a heads up. If you're saying when Infinity and we're talking about, why the guys set up USD Plus, we're probably going to skip past that question. So if you can just try and keep it topical on those three sections. How does that sound, guys?
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah,
works for us.
You're the master. You've invited us and hosting us, and we just obey by the house rules. I'm very glad that you guys are welcomed us. Thank you very much. Let's do that. Yeah.
No, great. Look, and obviously we've spoken several times, but it'd be good maybe to get in sort of introduction to you guys individually. What's your background? Why are you doing this?
Andrew, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can start with myself. So well, first of all, I'm doing marketing for Overnight Finance, a little bit of business development, and because it's pretty much the same here in crypto world. I have over like 12 years, like roughly 15 years of experience in marketing, in traditional marketing, working with like in companies like Reebok, Google, and Facebook, the latest ones. And now absolutely excited to be part of Overnight Finance team. We've recently took over and pace the trajectory which we achieved with the team is absolutely fascinating, and the one which I've never seen before. So super excited to be part of Overnight Finance team, and I'll pass it over to Max then.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. But in 2 words, basically, you spent 15 years in Google, Facebook, and Reebok just to become a degen. Is that?
The whole journey just led me to this moment.
Yeah, I'm even worse than Andrew because I'm actually traditional finance person all my life. So bond trading at JP Morgan, securitized products in 2007 at Morgan Stanley. But most of my career was with the Boston Consulting Group, where I spent 17 years in Paris, London, Singapore, and Moscow. I ended up running financial institutions practice for BCG in Eastern Europe. And at some point in time, I was just like thinking, you got to do something more exciting in your life. And I'm educated in ESSEC France and INSEAD in Singapore and Stanford in the US. And when I went to Stanford, I just thought, got to change my life. I got to do something different. And so ever since, I wanted to do something innovative, build new businesses. And I did my first business, which was called Mac49. We sold it like, I think 2 years ago. And then I was thinking what to do next. And, kind of since 2017, I've been in the blockchain more as a person. And then, at some point in time, I just realized this is the thing for me to do. The key motivation is, all my background is about doing compliant businesses and kind of everything straightforward, plain vanilla, super transparent, compliant. We are fully doxed. We talked about ourselves. Everything is super, super clean. But at some point in time, I wanted to say, I want to create a fintech business which is global day one. There's so much which can be done, but like if you want to do something in finance, typically in every country you need to get a license or some permission. It costs money, lawyers with ties, and very lengthy. It's very hard to do a global business in fintech, except if you're in DeFi. And so an opportunity to build something which is global, can have global impact day one, was so exciting that that's my key motivation to get this thing started.
Very good, very good.
So Andrew had 15 years of corporate career to become a DGen. I had 20 years of career to become a DGen.
Yeah. So whereabouts in the world are you guys?
Andrew?
Yeah, I'm Austin, Texas, South Austin. If you've been here,
yeah, I'm in Yerevan, Armenia.
Very good, very good. That's a great introduction, guys. I think that I'll just do a brief introduction about sort of MDB, the team, our background, and why we're doing this, and and then we'll open up to some questions specifically around the teams in question, and then we can move on to sort of talking about what MDB Plus USD Plus is and how it works. Welcome, by the way, anybody that's new to the server. Welcome. There was two massive things that we wanted to achieve with MDB. One is we wanted something that was absolutely sustainable. I think whilst it's been a really difficult time since we launched in terms of the market, it's also been a blessing in disguise because it's given us the opportunity with I almost say if anyone's a fan of Forrest Gump, MDB is a bit like the shrimp boat. Everybody's on a learning curve, right, in life in general, and we had very sort of ambitious plans and hope to go to the moon within a couple of weeks, but the market was extremely challenging. But what that's given us the opportunity to do is show the resilience of MDB, and that resilience isn't by accident. Actually, MDB really came from us personally as a team. We've got plenty of life and business experience. Myself, I've operated within the startup space around investments, worked for a couple of Fortune 500 businesses at management level, and then we've got other members of the team who are also very experienced operating at management, business owner or director level, and really, MDB was my own personal brainchild because I can see we did a lot of analysis. We're quite frustrated with the industry, quite frankly. We see a huge amount of opportunity in decentralized finance, and quite often that opportunity is wasted. So MDB really was the product of that frustration and lots of thinking and work trying to solve the major issues which contribute to the downfall of projects. So no better test of all of that theory really than to throw us into the environment that we've had for the last couple of months. And like I say, I suppose I might be Forrest Gump kind of coming out at the back end of the storm, and we've fared fairly well. Our team some of our teams based in the UK. More and more of our team is based in the US. Actually, our developers work. We use external developers who have registered LLC and they operate also out of the US. They're in a legal jurisdiction where you're comfortable that they can be held to a certain level of standards and accountability. That's really does. We don't. This is our first DeFi project, and I openly say I want it to be our last DeFi project. I don't want to be hopping from one thing to the next. I see this absolutely as a long term. A long-term way of delivering value and also ultimately delivering community at the same time, because I think that's really powerful within any industry.
Exciting.
Great intro. Thanks for that.
Great stuff. And so now, because I'm kind of steering the ship on my okay, so the first sensible question comes from Brent, which was when Avatar 2. So there's a thing going around where people think that I look like, which is probably quite offensive to that poor guy, that I look like, I think it's Sam Worthington from Avatar. So question for all three of you guys, and I should read them before I start reading them out actually. What was the very first thing that brought you all into crypto? And the person asking the question said, for me, it was watching Bitcoin go from $700 up to $3,000 in a really short period of time. I think that's a great question, because people's ambitions and motivations are always a good sort of look into sort of people's drivers. You want to go first, maybe Max?
Yeah, with pleasure. So what happened to me was actually in 2017, I worked with some clients, like traditional banks, which wanted to kind of build fintech businesses from scratch, and we were helping them set that up. In 2017, it was the hype of ICOs, and we kind of noticed this company called Monaco Card, and and we wanted to build something very similar. And so kind of as a project for these guys, we built a company which was getting inspiration from the Monaco Card and trying to do the same. So Monaco Card was, there was also 10x in Singapore at the time. Virex these days is, you have a card, you can top it up with crypto and kind of go spend in shops everywhere, wherever kind of a Visa card was accepted at that point in time. And so we built that. It took us a lot of time. It was never successful because that was a bank, a traditional bank, and traditional banks are not, best owners for crypto businesses, as we all understand, with legal departments and regulation and stuff like that. But I noticed then how Monaco Card actually evolved. These days it's known. They did a small ICO. It was like $5 million ICO. But this day then they rebranded, and now they're called Crypto.com. And I don't know how many $1 billion they are worth, but they are obviously huge in the space. And the card which we did for that time was, never really took off. And it occurred to me that a lot depends on whether kind of you're entrepreneurial and you kind of own the business and kind of feel for it and drive it forward yourself, or you just a corporate executive sitting there being important, but really getting no shit done. Kind of, can you imagine that bank had billions at its disposal? It could kind of blow the world if they wanted to. Monaco did a small ICO, a few $1 million, and they're now worth much more than that bank in terms of market cap. That really blew my mind. And I have a few other stories like this. But ever since I realized, crypto is big, crypto can be huge. But most importantly, it's an area where entrepreneurship matters. In entrepreneurship, there's no limits really, and is a great opportunity to realize.
Very good, very good. What about yourself, Andrew? What was the tipping point for you to get into crypto?
Well, the kind of when I got my first Bitcoin at 32K, and that was like exactly what you just mentioned. Then when it quickly grew from 700 to 30, I pulled the trigger on 32. So yeah, and since then I've been following that, but professionally and seriously, I've been doing that only with overnight finance and with Max's team. And the only reason why I decided to do that is because kind of I learned to Max's LinkedIn. and I spoke with a good friend of mine who introduced us, who told that this guy is reliable because, like, to me, crypto was kind of a little bit too, like, a place unknown. So I just understood that if people like Max are going there with like the Morgan Stanley and BCG and Stanford backgrounds, right? Then this is something that I can trust as well, right? Because, like, like, it's not a joke. 17 years of finance practice, or head of finance practice partner at BCG. This is not a freaking joke. So yeah, this is worth something. That's why I decided to join this absolutely fascinating venture.
Thanks, man, actually, for your words. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, very good, very good. So my entry nowhere near as professional as yours, actually, Max. But so I actually held a very small amount of Bitcoin for some time, but then out of pure boredom, which is maybe I've always been somebody who at work is really organized, really focused, and my own personal admin, will be all over the place. So the reason I'm saying that is don't judge my own personal investments professionally, because there's definitely a massive difference between the way I treat the two. And I just out of pure boredom one day bought some Dogecoin, and it was just before that massive run up, and you had Elon going on Saturday Night Live and all of that crazy stuff, and I made a bit of money, quite frankly, in the grand scheme of things, not a huge sum of money, but I made a bit of money, sort of in 5 figures, in a really short space of time. But it opened my eyes again to like this world, and actually, then I bought some SafeMoon, which was, quite frankly, I think they're still running now, so I probably shouldn't be too scathing, but it's a mess, right? It is an absolute mess, and they've absolutely wasted a massive opportunity. And the opportunity they had was community, and then I invested in a number of other things over time, and what I noticed through that journey was that, like, everybody talks about DeFi and how it can come together and can make people money. But then I noticed that I had these massive holes in it. Like, most people don't make money, right? Most people lose money, and a very small number of people actually make money. So I saw that as something that was always going to be a major issue for it to sort of for it to scale. But I also saw that people weren't just looking for money. Even myself, right? I was doing a lot of days like a 90-minute sort of plus, maybe sometimes even 90 minutes plus each way, sometimes even as close to 2 hours each way commute. And for me, it was a way of zoning out. It was a way of connecting with other people in a community. And quite frankly, I'd never put money in that I was absolutely reliant on anyway. So it wasn't particularly stressful on that side of things. But I just saw this fantastic opportunity. And I thought, well, hang on a second. Imagine if you could actually build a protocol that's built to last, and you can actually deliver returns for a large number of people, and you can get the other things right as well, which draws people in and has, quite frankly, made pretty crap projects quite successful. Then the combination of all of those things could be really, really powerful. And that maybe then could be a standard and then help the industry sort of move in a direction. And that really is the motivation. And I'd taken a business from from being a few 100K turnover. We just successfully secured investment from Intel, valuing the business at 120 million, and sort of a very short space of time afterwards, I walked into my boss's office and said, I sat my missus down and said, I'm going to do this, and here I am, and that's MDB, and I like solving problems, and I'm attracted to things that I see can change the world as we know it for the better, and I think, like, crypto is probably a fantastic example of so much opportunity quite often wasted, and I'd really like to try and change some of that.
Yeah. May I ask you a question? How come you guys what's the kind of the context for for these nicknames from Godfather, the book?
Yeah, but to be fair, so there is a story behind that. It's a great question. So and quite whenever anybody's got an issue with me, they'll quite often point to that and say, well, if somebody calls themselves the Godfather, what sort of person are they? And actually, it was because I didn't have an alias, and And so we put it to a community vote, and the community voted to call me $1 Million Daddy, which is just too creepy, right? The only people that I want calling me daddy are my children. And so I was completely resisting that. And I'm a fan of the Godfather films, and I thought it was a play on daddy without it being creepy. And so that was my compromise, really. So that's how we came to the Godfather.
Nice. I have another question to you. I have another question to you, actually. So do you have any engineering background? So just to run all these things is it required some technical savviness. Do you have any?
That's an instant question. You should never ask this question, Andrew.
No, but no, I mean, like,
are you just being arrogant because you are an engineer?
I'm not. I'm not an engineer at all.
No, let me give some context to that. Look, I've got I've always been somebody that could switch industries and learn really quick. I actually, the past 7 years of my career, I spent just trying to stay in a job longer than the last one, because I would learn very quickly, get my head around it, and then I need to be mentally challenged, and quite often I'd look for something new that would challenge me. So, whilst I'm not an engineer by background, I've quite frankly, with very little education actually as well. I don't come from sort of an affluent background or anything like that. I did okay from a career point of view, and I was very lucky to have many opportunities and that went well. And then I worked for Schneider Electric for over 4 years. I worked in the energy and sustainability industry. That was huge because I ran a commercial organization that actually sold all of what Schneider did. And if anybody knows Schneider, they'll know they sell from fuses to data centers to energy management systems to software, and it's a huge stretch on your capacity. So that was huge. I did that job for a couple of years, and then I ran their electric vehicle charging business across a few markets as well for a couple of years. And again, then in a business director role, having to manage all of the facets, not only from a commercial point of view, but marketing, technical, operations, and then building on top of that, I moved into the software space, which was software, really down in the detail actually, for the additive manufacturing businesses use to run their operation top down. And we work both in enterprise and also the startup space. Again, very technical. So yeah, whilst I might not be a 22-year-old that can code, at the same time, I'm a 38-year-old guy that's been around the block and got my head around lots of different topics before.
Yeah, I never realized you had been part of Schneider. Schneider obviously is huge. They actually had been a very big client to my previous business, Mac 49. And actually, electric. I think some of my colleagues actually did some electric charging projects for them. Maybe even with you. Maybe we can take it offline at some point in time. The world is much smaller place actually than than it seems, even in DeFi.
Yeah, definitely. Look, and to answer your question, Andrew, I suppose, no, I'm not an engineer, but I could talk to you about single and 3-phase electricity running into your house, and then I could talk to you about smart contracts, and I could talk to you about energy and sustainability systems for buildings and how they work. So I'm pretty good at getting as far as I need to on lots of different topics, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does.
Oh, good question though. Fantastic question. So I think we've done questions on the team actually, and I already start to see some questions around USD Plus and MDB Plus. So maybe it'd be good now if you guys could give us sort of the elevator pitch on USD Plus, what it is, how it works, and we've already got some questions lined up, but let's kind of see how the overview goes.
Yeah, I mean it's very simple. When I would speak to kind of traditional finance people, I would say it's designed like a money market fund. I like this joke. You know how SEC, like the American regulator, kind of has always issues with stable coins. But I have this joke that they actually invented stable coins. Why? Because they have this funny regulation called NAV of 1. What it basically means is that, and that's literally how I invented this thing. I actually came from regulation to invent something which is invented to be compliant with regulation which does not yet exist, but exists in spirit. So SEC invented this NAV of one regulation for money market funds. What it means is that they basically say a unit of a money market fund should always be $1. And so, and how should it be $1? Basically, should have $1 of assets behind it at any point in time. And how do you make sure it's $1 of assets behind one unit? It's simply by, first of all, investing into things which are extremely liquid. And in case of traditional money market funds, it's American treasuries and repos and kind of like all these very short-term, highly reliable AAA type of securities, which can immediately be converted into cash. And because they're short-term, they never go below one. And so that's first of all kind of by choosing kind of the quality of collateral, and second, but they still kind of produce yield, which is not very big, and this yield should be given back to users, so the holders of the money market funds, at the end of the business day. So if the day passes, it generated 1 basis point, it should be paid back to the investor into the money market fund at the end of the day. And in the history of the money market funds, like 100-year history, there were only four times when this regulation was breached, and every time they called it breaking the buck. Like really, this motto "breaking the buck" really kind of was stuck in my head. I was thinking when a money market fund depegs, literally depegs, an SEC would call it breaking the buck. Like how much more about stable coins can it be? And so kind of it occurred to me that I can kind of
I've lost Max. How about you, Andrew?
obviously to BUSD, BUSD, which is at any point in time is backed up by one BUSD worth of assets, which are invested into highly liquid, most reliable assets across DeFi space. For us, these are like stable to stable pools for highest quality stables like BUSD, USDC, USDT, sometimes DAI, TUSD, but on this high quality, no algorithmics, even no CDPs mostly, except DAI. So invest into those. Immediate liquidity can be taken out at any point in time, while it's still kind of collateral to USD Plus. It's producing yield, and we give yield back to the USD Plus holders at the end of the day. So that's the whole idea. So we call USD Plus essentially the yield by daily
Sorry,
rate base.
Max, we're losing you a little bit with your signal.
Let me take over, Max, here. Max, if you don't mind, let me take you over here because it seems that you're breaking up a little bit. So yeah, guys. Just a quick recap. So what Max was saying about USD Plus, how it works is essentially USD Plus is minted from USDC on Polygon and BUSD on Binance Smart Chain, BNB Smart Chain. And what happens is that we then convert the collateral, the USDC or BNB, to other reliable stable coins like USDC, USDT, BUSD, DAI, which we deploy in yield generating strategies. So we go on DEX like Dystopia or Cone, and we find the low risk strategy there, the lowest possible risk strategy there, which generates some yield, and we provide liquidity there in the form of a liquidity pair. Let's say USDT, USDC, or BUSD, DAI. Provided liquidity there, and every day the strategy generates rewards or fees or both in the form of a native token. And what we do is sell this native token every day, and we give you back the profit. So essentially, what's happening is that all those strategies which we find and which we use, they generate yield, and every day we sell all those rewards and give the benefits back to you. 100% of the profits are going back to holders. And we always say that on our website you can see all of those strategies, and it's very important that our holders understand where the collateral is being deployed, because we claim that this is the lowest possible risk in DeFi, because we never use like volatile assets. We only use like reliable stable coins. And you can do exactly the same with your funds. You can take our strategies, which are visible on our website, and you can take the ratios of those strategies, and you can invest in those strategies to diversify risks, and you will have exactly the same result. Like overnight is not making money on this. There's only 0.4% exit and entry fees, so that there are no whales which are bringing money right before the rebase, the daily rebase, and those fees are going back to holders. So it's not even going to overnight; it's going back to holders. So yeah, this is how it works, guys. Everything is on our website, and we claim that we are the lowest possible risk in DeFi, which pays you some yield. And again, overnight finance is not about high yield. We're not claiming that we will give you high rewards and like and big yields. We are saying that instead of holding a USDC or BUSD in your wallet when you want to save your funds, you can do exactly the same with USD Plus, but on top of it, you will get some yield, and some yield is roughly 10%, like in average, throughout all of our chains where we are deployed currently. Yeah.
Andrew, yeah, this is spot on. So not a day with a loss is very important. So not very high yields, but not a single day with a loss. Never had a negative rebase, and we choose strategies which generate kind of, do not generate losses on a daily basis. So we never go down. And the magic power of USD Plus is that it generates yield where you had none before. It's like not high yield, but it's infinitely more than zero. In particular, it generates yield in the liquidity pools. So there is a coin exchange, which is being launched on BSC, launched last week. Interesting pools starting as of tomorrow, actually. And so USD Plus will produce yield in those pools. In every pool with USD Plus, people will get rebase from the USD Plus. So like there will be BUSD USD Plus pool, and at some point there will be MDB Plus USD Plus pool. USD Plus will be producing yield in those pools. In its typical pool, you will get fees and rewards. In the pool with USD Plus, you will get fees, rewards, and rebase. And all the other things, it will be exactly like BUSD. You'll trade the same volume, or you can always mint redeem into BUSD. But in the pool, it will be fees, rewards, and rebase. And so that's the magic. Like you had nothing before, you had zero, now you're getting infinitely more than zero. Because it's like you didn't get any yield, now you are getting infinitely more yield. So that's the idea of the USD Plus.
Yeah, Max, I see there are a lot of questions about how overnight finance is making money. I think it's pretty important to mention that. And yeah, please, can you share more about that?
Yeah, so at the moment we are not charging the commission on the USD Plus. We decided that once we reach 10 million TVL, we will be charging 0.5% annually. So that means that every day we'll take 0.5% of TVL divided by 365 days. And so this 365th of 0.5% will be our revenue, which is very small. Second source of revenue is that when you have our partners DEXs like ConSwap, for example, we just launched previously Dystopia, they realize that USD Plus has a lot of liquidity. and we know they're reliable DEX because we partnered with them on Dystopia. So they invite us to new launches. They list USD Plus, but they also are prepared to get the liquidity, like look for USD Plus to provide liquidity back into them into stable pairs. And for example, on the ConSwap at the launch, they gave us $80,000 worth of voting power, so that to incentivize USD Plus to come join and not only be listed, but also kind of provide liquidity to stable pools on ConSwap. Last but not least, our major source of revenue is so-called ETS. We call it exchange traded strategies. I think we'll talk about it, but it's somewhat like whenever there is a pool like BNB USD Plus pool, which is also going to be available on the ConSwap, we build investment strategies for which we charge larger fees. So ETS, what it will do, it's a stable. You put in USD Plus, then USD Plus is used on Aave to borrow BNB, and then this BNB is put into BNB USD Plus pool. And every day, what it achieves is that BNB, which is being farmed, is kind of hedged because it's borrowed. So it becomes kind of a quasi-stable investment with crypto LP type of yields. It's an extremely popular product. And on this product, we have to actually put limits on the amounts of those products, and that's in limited supply. But typically, for those products, we'll charge very meaningful fee. So on Polygon, it was 1% management fee and 10% of profits. We believe the market is, between 1.5 and 2 times higher. I don't want to yet reveal all the secrets. It will be very meaningful fees for this super product on ConSwap, on BC, once we launch it, either tomorrow or next Thursday in 1 week.
Max, I think that we're going, as always, like a little bit fast here.
Yeah.
Let us know, guys. Do you understand how USD Plus works? Do you understand that it provides yield not only in your wallet, but also it works in the LP? When you LP it with any token, including NDB Plus, any token, it will also grow roughly 10%, 8 to 12%. Do you have any questions about that? Because it's very important to understand and because this is the baseline for our further discussions. How USD Plus works, how is it collateralized, is it safe, how USD Plus is providing yield. These are the fundamental questions which are critical to be understood. So please let us know in comments. I'm looking at the chat right now, and please let us know if something is not clear here, because it's the baseline for moving forward, because we'll be touching upon the next things. And Max also mentioned ETS. This is the new product which we're building. I mean, we've built, of course, obviously. Yeah. Before we move on to ETS, it's very important to understand like that USD Plus is trustworthy. If you have any questions here, please let us know.
Yeah, a big part of the trust, I think I understand where the questions came from, because people saying like, if you pass over all the yield, how do you make money? How can you be sustainable? And basically, to sum up my answer, USD Plus we don't make much money on, very small fee, which is almost non-existent. When USD Plus is 1 billion, it will be meaningful, but before that, it's small. But because USD Plus, has the opportunity to establish very interesting trading pairs on a bunch of DEXs. So DEXs want us in, and they pay us to join. But second, we built unique products on top, like USD, like ETS, and those are the products where we make money.
I have a question actually, and it's not a pointy question, just because I'm genuinely curious. What was behind your thinking of making it effectively rebase a yield rather than appreciate in value?
To be fully honest, I was so ignorant. I was designing a product which I think would be kind of would make sense from a traditional finance perspective, if you see what I mean. Like I didn't realize all the issues with the rebase, and actually rebase also has bad reputation. Like when you say rebase, people think about all sorts of various projects, forgetting that the most widespread rebase token is Aves IUSDC. And so I wasn't aware of all those things, but I just thought, how do you pay people interest? And funny story, when we were VC funded, so when we showed the prototype to VCs, we started showing it back in November last year, and in December we had a prototype which actually was not rebase token. It was literally making transfers, like coupon payments every day, to all USD Plus holders. And while they were less than 50, it all worked. When it reached 52, it stopped working. So that's how we realized that we need to do the rebase. But I was just designing the product because, with appreciating tokens, LP tokens, and all that stuff, you never know really how much money you are making. Like you need to make all these difficult calculations, and of course now we have DBank, and but like it's very difficult to track your profit.
Yeah.
Rebase, I think the beauty is that you just look at the balance, you see it has increased, you realize you've made money. You always know how much money you've made, and so I just thought it's just so convenient to always know your profit that I just thought it's unbeatable value proposition. Yeah. And I didn't know all about all the downsides. So
to be fair, I think there's huge pros and cons from a taxation perspective. I know there's some jurisdictions where if an asset appreciates but you haven't sold the asset, then it's not, your gain isn't taxable. But if it pays you something like a yield, i.e., more tokens, it's seen as like an income. So then it can be, But there's I see lots of pros and cons of both ways.
Yeah. But so on taxes, there is actually an answer. So first of all, we have built a wrapper, and on our website you can wrap USD Plus if you want to keep it until it appreciates. Actually, one of the games on Polygon called AutoClam, they integrated our wrapper into the treasures in their game, and actually people, when they get the treasure in the game, they used to kind of collect it and sell it right away. But now, because it's wrapped USD Plus, giving them yield, they kind of are not in a hurry to collect their treasure and sell it. And they wanted the wrapper. Why? Because exactly for tax purposes, and there were a lot of North Americans, and that's exactly what they wanted. So we built a wrapper, and whoever has a tax issue can always use it. Second, when USD Plus is in the LP pools, it's not, it's appreciating within LP token, but you're holder of the LP token. And so that one is not appreciating. So you can kind of see your balance of USD Plus grow on the UI. But from the tax perspective, you're holding LP token, which is, is not taxable until sold. So that has been addressed, I have to tell you. And it's actually very important that people who don't like rebase for tax purposes can enjoy USD Plus with no issues. We have addressed all of those.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, no, that's a fantastic answer. Just one basic question was just around the different chains that you're on and plan to be on.
Yeah, so we started on Polygon.
I think Andrew's answered, but if people aren't in the AMA questions, then it'd be good to verbalize it.
Yeah, Andrew, do you want to take it?
I already answered in the AMA questions chat, guys. But it's we started with Polygon. Then the next one was Avalanche. The next one was Optimism, and like in parallel, Binance Smart Chain. And our two key focuses currently are Polygon and Binance. This is where we are making our huge bets. Especially having such awesome partners like MDB.
We get it. Very good. So just conscious of time. So I'll give an overview of MDB Plus. So anybody that's new to sort of MDB, look, MDB Plus is a complementary token within our ecosystem. USD Plus are definitely, experts within this field. For us, MDB Plus plays a critical part within our ecosystem, acting both as a utility, an investment option for our protocol, but then also acting as an investment option for the people within our community as well, who are quite often moving in and out of projects, in and out of MDB itself, or the different assets within our ecosystem. The way MDB Plus works, and we're very open about this. Actually, I saw there was a token called, sorry, I was about to say USD Plus, XUSD, and they launched last year, and they delivered like really high APY at the start, and then naturally it started to flatten off. And the reason for that is because you've got basically the way MDB Plus works, which is built on the same system as XUSD, is that it charges a very small tax. So when you buy it, it charges 0.75%, and when you sell it, it charges 0.25%. And the BUSD from your trades are locked in the contract. So when you buy MDB Plus, it mints supply. When you sell MDB Plus, it gives you BUSD back out of the pool that is locked in the contract. You can go and see it on BSE scan, all of the BUSD sat there, which is backing all of the circulating supply plus $1 at all times. So it then destroys MDB Plus when you take the BUSD out, which is fine, right? So this fantastic system that worked really well. However, as soon as you fall into a situation where the volume becomes too much, too little of the TVL, ultimately then that APY starts to dry up. And I think, ideally you'd like to think that everybody would use a stable token like currency, like you use money in your own pocket. In truth, if you offer great APY, certainly if you're in double figures plus and you've got the risk levels we've got, which are as close to zero as you can get in crypto, unfortunately, that actually drives a behavior which is counterproductive to the APY. So what people do is they come along, they take some money, they drop it in the contract, and off they go. So we saw this fantastic innovation with XUSD. We also saw, I suppose, the inherent risk to the APY over time. And ultimately we looked to counteract that. So we added a twist in our own version. So we worked with the team there, and we used, I suppose, their core structure, and then we added a twist. So we have the capability within MDB Plus to cash out wallets. At the moment, it's set to $50,000, and we've never cashed anybody out. No single holder has gone over that amount. But if we wanted to, we could also reduce that threshold. So if 20 people came along and chucked in $40,000, and then it was just killing the APY overnight, we would have the ability to press a button, and it would convert those wallets over a certain amount, or certainly the amount over that threshold, from MDB Plus back into BUSD. So what that gives us then is a token that gets really high APY because of the buy and sell taxes. It's really safe because the backing collateral was actually locked in the contract. Nobody can get that out other than redeeming the native token, which is MDB Plus. And then in addition, we also have this ability to manage sort of the capital ratios. And that comes in, that's really important. So we've got 40% of our LPs paired with MDB Plus. Now, considering the size of our liquidity pool now, how is that possible if you've got this 50K limit? So we have the ability within the contract to offer an exemption for B2B organizations. So we then go and work with other projects. So EMP was our first sort of flagship partner. We've got a fantastic relationship with those guys, and lots more we'll be doing with them. Protocol X is another one. Clearly, we're looking at Cone and having a pair and working with the guys at USD Plus. And that really is part of our journey to try and get to 5 million a day in volume of MDB Plus. And ultimately what we're able to do with those functions within the contract is, if somebody's protocol on a B2B perspective can bring volume to MDB Plus, which brings APY and growth through many different utilities. It could be using it for NFT mints, using it for launch platforms, using it as an LP pair, or using it as a treasury investment. using it as rewards tokens, for instance, people that pay out, miners that pay out hundreds of thousands of dollars a day would be able to use it, and that would drive volume. We're able to create this relationship where you can have an allocation of MDB plus over the threshold if you're driving volume through it. Otherwise, you sit within the retail space. Then really, we're able to separate the two, and that in a nutshell is what MDB Plus is. We tested it ourselves. So we were the first MDB Plus alliance partner, if you like, and what we found is that we could get 3 passive revenue streams. It was a great treasury investment. Number 2, we were then able to arb successfully between the pools and generate a passive income and help the APY, and then Number 3, we could pair some of our own liquidity pool to it. So it meant that when BNB was crashing down, 40% of our LP wasn't actually, and in fact was appreciating in the other direction. We're going to use that as a structure. Long term, we're building around that product set, and we're looking to bridge our experience into real world applications around payment systems and finance solutions. But in a nutshell, that's MDB Plus and the way it works, both for protocols and also for individual investors.
Very cool.
Very cool indeed. Do you have any? I think I saw or I read somewhere on your website or on Discord that there's a limit how much MDB Plus you can own or mint.
Yeah, at the moment it's 50,000 to a single wallet, $50,000. That's where it's at the moment. We can lift that. We can also reduce that if we needed to. Yeah, if the scenario dictated the requirement, but ultimately, we could also take that away completely. If we, we'll talk about partnership in a moment, but I think if we're able to continue to expand the ecosystem around MDB Plus and press on sort of the early experience that we've got around how successful arbitrage can be for the APY and scale that quite aggressively along with that minute buy and sell tax. And we're very confident we can be in a position where, there could be a point in time in the future where we don't have to think about that threshold, but we always have it, right? We could be in a place where you have, hundreds of millions of dollars in MDB Plus, and maybe, there's a few people that aren't contributing to the volume, and they've got huge sums of money in there that are sucking up the APY, and we'd have the function to press a button and cash those or some of those wallets out to BUSD, which would obviously that would also force volume, driving up the APY again.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think it's a great segue to the actual pair, because everyone's here is also waiting for the alpha about, all right, what's going to be when we just combine the two NFTs, so combine the 2 tokens together. So do you want to share more about that?
Absolutely. And I think also it'd be great to hear Max talk about it, because Max has got an advanced understanding of where we can take this as a partnership. And, in basic terms, step number 1 is that we'll create a pair of MDB Plus, USD Plus, which expands ecosystems on both sides actually, and offers obviously the combination of both of the assets in the same LP at the same time. That will go on to Cone, which then obviously you bridge into the environment with or without Cone. If we've got additional LPs, then that gives us additional arbitrage opportunities, and we can drive more volume through it, which drives higher APY. But then in addition to that, you've also then got the ability to drive liquidity through Cone and Unknown to specific pairs, which again just drives more liquidity, more volume, more APY. And so really this is a combination of the 2 projects here. And but there's also the trifecta element of working with the Sphere ecosystem as well.
I mean, you said it all. I just think also this is a fantastic opportunity in DeFi. I really don't understand why people would be using BUSD, USDC, USDT in DeFi. There are all these fantastic opportunities to create things like, MDB Plus and USD Plus, which would be exactly the same for all practical purposes. These are like stable coins. I understand you're even appreciating kind of pegging up, I call it. backed up stablecoin. And so, excuse me, I think really all of the DeFi should use different stablecoins than those which are used at the major kind of centralized exchanges. I understand why USDT is being and BUSD are being used by Binance and USDC is being used by Coinbase. But I think in DeFi we have these marvelous opportunities to, not only provide liquidity at the DEXs and trade at DEXs, we can actually, smartly deploy the liquidity and get yield on the liquidity which we provide to those DEXs. And that's how DeFi is going to be superior to centralized options. Not only through different governance, but actually by giving people more, giving them yield where they had none before, giving them infinitely more than zero in situations where they were reduced to zero. Most of the DEXs on BSC don't pay yield. Maybe Ellipsis only is the only place where you can actually, place liquidity and get yield on it. I think, every exchange which has UniV2 underneath, like PancakeSwap, Cone, should only be trading against things like USD Plus and DB Plus, because it's as good as BUSD, but it actually pays you yield via daily rebase on top, or it pays you yield point blank like MDB Plus. So there is a new DEX we just launched, which is called Equinox, which is the fork of Balancer, a famous project. Those guys have boosted pools. I think every pool on Balancer should be a boosted pool, because when we provide liquidity over there, it cannot be just fees and rewards. No, fees are small and insufficient. Rewards always kind of, you always run out of rewards if you rely on just rewards. Sooner or later, you just run out of rewards. Things which don't end and things which make sense is yield. So every DEX should be yield generating. Balancer, Equinox, every pool should be boosted pool. Pancake should trade only against MDB plus, USD plus, and Cone Swap. Eventually, every pair should be paired against MDB plus or USD plus, because it gives you more without any downside. So I think it's really a massive opportunity.
Great answer. Great answer. There was a couple of questions that have come in the chat, actually. One or two of them, I suppose one of them is about MDB, the MDB token as itself, because really MDB Plus is sort of complementary in the ecosystem. We've got two stable backed assets, actually. MDB Plus basically has no risk, whereas Phoenix Plus has a little bit of risk, i.e. we're talking a handful of percent if you're extremely unlucky, but that has huge upside potential. It's running at 130% APY, I think, last time I checked. Again, stable backed, fully locked in the contract, fully safe. I just wanted to address this because I know there'll be plenty of people here that are new. So, what about MDB? What's so special about MDB? Well, MDB isn't a stable backed asset. It is a backed asset in the sense that we have a trust fund that's just, I think today's report just came out. I think it's 2.09 million, the trust fund today. And if you imagine I'm not suggesting we're a bank by any stretch, but just for the example, imagine a bank has a certain amount of money and it's able to make, say, 50% on that money every year, and it then use the profits from that money to buy back its own shares. And that ultimately is what MDB is. It's hyperdeflationary with appreciating funds. So the idea is that we started at 1 billion tokens and we get that as low as humanly possible or mathematically possible. And we started off with a 1.5 million trust fund. The idea is we want that trust fund to be 10 million. We want the supply to be 400 million as quickly as possible. And then the sheer impact of the interest of that larger fund eating away at the supply. And the way it does that is by buying the supply and burning it forever, is really what MDB is all about. And everything else in the ecosystem is designed to be there to help MDB do that faster. Hopefully that answers the question. difficult when you have a silent audience because you can't get any feedback. So I'll take that as a thumbs up. There was a question here actually. Maybe I'll put this to you, Max. When do you think we can see the USD plus MDB plus pair on Cone or Unknown?
As soon as possible. From what I understand, it actually should be whitelisted very soon. And we can just from what I understand, there will be votes once this pair is established. There will be votes. Among other things, I think Sphere is going to vote for this quite extensively. Our joint partner, and as soon as it can be done, like next Thursday, if you guys are up for it.
Next Thursday is in this Thursday, right?
It can be this Thursday or next Thursday.
Yeah, I think the guys are pushing for as fast as possible. I think we've kind of teased everybody. Everybody's waiting to go, and we'll keep pushing Sim. But I think it could be done in the next sort of 24, 48 hours.
Oh, if I only said next Thursday because I have not yet seen the pair on the ConSwap. But it's actually the voting is happening tonight. Sorry I was being a little bit careful. The voting was happening tonight, and I think it could be this Thursday. But if it's not this Thursday, it's next Thursday for sure. But I mean, it's very, very soon. The idea originally to do the CMA today was to make sure that people know about this pair MDB plus USD plus starting tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. More questions here. How about using USD Plus as the backing for MDB Plus? I think that's a fantastic question. What do you think about that, Max?
I think that's a fantastic opportunity. It's yield generating. So where do you deploy the money which so far goes into MDB Plus? Is it just it stays there?
Actually locked in the contract. If you go onto BSC scan, put in the MDB Plus contract address, you can see the BUSD back in the total supply locked in the contract.
Yeah, so that's essentially BUSD, which is not working inside the contract, right? It's making sure, it's serving a very important function, kind of providing.
It's also obviously, there is only one way that BUSD comes out of that contract, and I think it swings and roundabouts, right? But I think it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, so basically, I think USD Plus would serve that perfectly because the mission, as I said, the mission of USD Plus is to give you yield where you had none before. So if you have BUSD in your contract, which is staying there, not generating yield, but as I said, serving very important purpose, providing liquidity and providing security, then actually USD Plus could really complement it. Because as good as BUSD, because it can be minted and redeemed one-to-one at any point in time, but it'll be generating yield, kind of reinforcing the MDB Plus profitability. So I think it's a very cool idea. We should really take it further.
Yeah, definitely. I think if we combined our average APYs of the last 7 days, I think we would. To be fair, our APY is as low as it's been for a while because the TVL has shot up, but the volumes stay quite low. So our APY the last 7 days has been 12.74%. I think yours is about 9%. Ours has been rarely under 20%. This is very low for us, actually. But that's because we've got some of the ARPLs and things like that.
What that would serve is that, it would be like additional yield on top of what you've got in any case. And so when you have volumes low, you can always, you can never fall below USD Plus yield. So it will be, USD Plus minimum, but they actually have, superior volume on top of USD Plus all the time. So it actually makes a lot of sense.
Indeed. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, great question. I think that I think you know, I think it's a great question. I think one of our USPs is, you know, because of the natural concerns people have after what happened with UST, is that we can kind of point to the BUSD sat there, which it's not very efficient from a capital perspective, but at the same time it also provides this degree of comfort. So I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think we always have to kind of balance those two things very carefully. But then at the same time, it's, you know, APY is also a fantastic driver of you know, of innovation.
Yeah, and that would be an additional source of yield for you, and you know, very reliable one. I think it you know, honestly makes a lot of sense. When UST happened, no, USD Plus was very small. But you know, we were of course depressed because, you know, there were also all these people who lost money, and they were all depressed, and market was kind of, you know, depressing too. But I have to tell you, you know, that was the best thing which happened to USD Plus, because a lot of people who never understood risk suddenly understood risk. A lot of people became risk averse, and they went to discover USD Plus, kind of BUSD, which gives you yield. And they were like, wow, I mean, you can do nothing and get so much via rebase with, you know, 100% collateralization. Like they saw this as the opposite of UST, and USD Plus grew like 10 times since May in terms of TVL users, expanded to 3 additional chains. I mean, just because people realized, you know, all the risks associated with algorithmic stablecoins and wanted something backed, like MDB Plus or USD Plus, and the two combined, wow, the sky is the limit, to be fully honest.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a cheeky question for you, actually, to put you on the spot. Do you know anything about Sphere's stable token, and are you guys involved with that?
So yes, of course, they're gonna pair it with USD Plus. It's so that the working name is called PUSD, but that's really is a CDP stablecoin, so more of a lending business rather than a true stablecoin. So like, you know, like guys like DAI, they would give you DAI secured by specific assets. You might have heard about MAI. You know, AG Euro, for example, is another, you know, lending kind of CDP type of stablecoin. So it's like when you give people certain collateral and they lend you stablecoins for a fee but without interest. And so at the moment, I think there's a big trend in this business of moving away from giving loans against crypto assets towards giving loans secured by yield generating stablecoins, or like by yield generating assets, stable assets. And so I think that's a massive opportunity to launch a bunch of new interesting businesses. And so that's what PUSD is going to do. It's going to be called Prion, and the stablecoin is going to be PUSD. It's going to be paired with USD Plus. More importantly, you'll be able to pledge USD Plus into Prion, or our ETS product into the Prion. And once it's pledged, you'll be able to get PUSD, but your collateral will be generating yield. So you kind of can pay a small fee and get yourself a stable coin secured by yield generating asset like USD Plus. And you know, you will not be afraid of liquidation because USD Plus is pegged, and you know, it's not volatile, so it cannot devaluate and you cannot get liquidated. And so you'll be able actually to use that for, you know, really leveraging your stable yield generating positions multiple times. So it's going to be a massive opportunity. You know, we are totally supportive. We think it's fantastic to cooperate on this endeavor. We just can't wait for that to launch. It should launch very soon.
Very good. Very good. So we're pushing 75 minutes now for the AMA. So we're getting to the point where we're gonna close this up. If there's one or two final questions, there's a couple of questions in the chat I can see that I'm not picking up on because they're asking quite technical questions. Like, for instance, if if USD Plus was used as collateral for MDB Plus, then what token would you cash out to? Considering that two guys have just gone, oh, that's a really interesting suggestion. I think 7 minutes later for us to give hard and fast answers without being able to assess the pros and cons, it'd just be quite challenging for us.
You always give BUSD. Like at the moment you can redeem for BUSD. If USD Plus is, I don't think you should switch all your collateral at once. But if USD Plus is powering some of your collateral, USD Plus should always be redeemed for BUSD, and then BUSD should be given to the people. You should not change your redeemability for BUSD no matter what. I think USD Plus could serve a purpose of helping you with yield, and because USD Plus can be redeemed for BUSD, I think it will be very easy to redeem MDB Plus for BUSD, even if USD Plus is part of its collateral.
Absolutely. Good answer. You're obviously a lot better than I am at thinking on your feet. So one last question I've seen come in, which I can answer. So we'll cover this off. So ETAs on MDB Plus going cross-chain. Look, I'm like a horse with blinkers on until Infinity is done. So it definitely won't be before middle or end of September. So at the moment, we're 100% focused on Infinity and making sure that's a success. And then we'll be looking at MDB Plus cross-chain after that.
Great. I was trying to see if the pool has appeared, because voting on Con Exchange just started. But I'm sure it's going to be done within a few hours. I'm just checking. MDB Plus. If I see it right now, it will be a fantastic finish for our AMA. Well, it's not there yet. I'm going to rush and call Sim and have him speed up.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. Look, I want to say thank you as well for you guys, because actually, whilst the community have been asking for it, both Max and also Andrew have been pushing quite hard for us to work together also. So I appreciate the tenacity on your side, and I should also add that Max has kindly offered to support us around some of the arbitrage development that we need to do as well. So so there's as well as it making pure financial sense in terms of the pair and us being strategically aligned, there's also some help in the background where the guys are being really supportive of MDB as well.
Yeah, totally. And guys, MDB is a plus to you. USD is also a plus to you. Our joint pair is double plus. So enjoy the double plus.
Absolutely. No, brilliant. Max, a pleasure to have you. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting, and pleasure to see everyone in the crowd, guys. We love you. Any questions, please come and ask in the Discord. I try to answer as much as possible. We have special people, but if you have questions for me or Andrea, we're at your disposal.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you everyone as well for coming. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.